Welcome to FluteChats.com, a flute podcast with host Viviana Guzman.
I'm here at the National Flute Association Convention 2011, and my guest this afternoon is Katherine Kemler. Katherine Kemler and I met in Slovenia a few years ago, and we had such an amazing time. And I want you to tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Well, I'm still at my job teaching at Louisiana State University in the School of Music there. I've been there for 25 years now, but I love it. And so I'm continuing with that. And I was really excited this summer for the first time. It's interesting that you mentioned that little time when we met in Slovenia, because another flutist who was there with us was Mihi Kim, who is Korean, but she teaches at the École Normale in Paris, and she is now a French citizen. And she invited me to teach along with her at the Académie Internationale Musicale de Colombes, right outside of Paris. And so we team taught, and I'm fairly fluent in French. She's really fluent in French and English. And so it was a really wonderful experience. And she has invited me to come back every other summer. So I'm doing that. And then in the even years, I teach at the Oxford Flute Summer School in Oxford, England. And I've been doing that since 1990. And that's one of the high points of my life, too, getting to interact with, there are lots of flutists there. And the thing in Colombes is a little smaller, but it's all good.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. It sounds beautiful. Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about how you started with the flute. What inspired you, and who were some of your major teachers?
Okay. Well, it's funny that you should mention that, because here at the convention, we just had a tribute for one of my earlier teachers, Mark Thomas, who is happens to be the founder of the NFA. You know, without Mark Thomas, we wouldn't have these conventions. We wouldn't even have a National Flute Association. But anyway, so I started the flute when I was 9 years old, and my total motivation for starting the flute was because, I knew I wanted to play an instrument because I wanted to get out of class for half an hour a week, and I wanted to win medals. So that was my inspiration. Now, I chose the flute because at the time there weren't very many people playing instruments in the public schools in Alexandria, Virginia, where I was from. So I went to a showcase, and I looked at all the instruments, and the flute looked different than the others. I mean, the others, all the wind instruments seemed to be either made out of brass or wood, and the flute was made out of silver, and you held it out to the side instead of the front. So I thought, what kind of unusual instrument is this? You know, I picked it because I thought it was an unusual instrument that probably not many people would play, only to come to find that it's one of the most popular instruments, and everyone and his dog plays the flute, you know. Right? Somehow I learned well enough to make the first chair in my junior high band. And the band director said, if she's serious, she needs to study with Mark Thomas, because he was the best teacher in the Northern Virginia area. All of his kids were top at All-State. And so I went to have my first lesson with him, and he just said, if you want to study with me, you have to have all your major and minor scales learned by next week. Yeah, so I guess I did, because he kept me. And he was a great teacher. And then I went on to study with Robert Willoughby at Oberlin. Nice. And I loved him. He was a great teacher. And then I went on from there to Samuel Barron in New York at State University of New York at Stony Brook. He also taught at Juilliard, but it was cheaper to study with him at SUNY Stony Brook. And he was a wonderful teacher. And then, since then, I've just continued. I would go to Europe and go to master classes, trying to find the ultimate truth in flute playing. Of course, one can never find that, but I sure enjoy the journey.
That's right. And can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing or upcoming projects? A little bit.
I kind of had an illness in 2009, which kind of wiped out a whole year. And I'm still sort of dealing with the illness, but I have it under control now. I've been taking a lot of supplements and things, and I feel much better, much more in control of things. But so I'm just kind of easing myself back into things. But I'm very excited this year because I'm going to be playing a couple of new concertos that I've never played before. One is the Capricorn Concerto, which is actually for flute, oboe, and trumpet with our LSU Symphony at LSU. We have a wonderful conductor from Venezuela named Carlos Rizuela. We have a wonderful trumpet teacher, Brian Shaw, who is just absolutely fabulous. And we just hired a new oboist, Johanna Cox. So I'm really excited to do that. Then in the spring semester, we just hired a new band director, Ron McKinney from Interlaken. And he's going to be conducting our wind ensemble. And he's asked me to solo a new piece, a relatively new piece by Joel Puckett for flute and wind ensemble. And it was actually written for Amy Porter. And so I'm very excited to work on that. Yeah.
You have a lot of great things coming up. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good. And now that we have a new oboist in our quintet, we're looking at being more, we're talking about being more active. And so I just taking things a little bit one step at a time, because it's kind of challenging when you've been really ill.
Health challenges, I know all about them. I wondered if there was anything that you could give some of our viewers, the young flutists, any advice or words of wisdom.
Well, this is, it's a really tough profession. And I really think when you go into this, if you decide you want to major in it, you really have to love it enough to, be willing to starve for it. And I really think it's good to broaden your horizons and have a lot of different interests these days, because it's really getting harder and harder just to make a living in music. But sometimes I think if there's a will, there's a way. If you can carve a niche for yourself. And for me, I think in the past, for a while anyway, it was contemporary music, avant-garde music, extended techniques. I was doing a lot of stuff with that. And I, still do a little bit. I haven't really been diving into new pieces because that takes so much energy, and with the illness and everything. But for example, today I just heard someone perform Lipstick by the Dutch composer Jacob ter Veldhuis for flute and taped, and it was something that I recorded, and it was so nice to hear somebody else play it, because since I'm not playing it right now. But it was such a tough piece, but a really cool piece. It's based on the soundtracks come from like the Jerry Springer Show. Yeah, and also a taped radio interview with Billie Holiday. The piece is called Lipstick, and that was the name of my last CD, which I made in 2008. And the reason it's called that is because in this interview with Billie Holiday, she quotes the words to her favorite song, which is, skip that lipstick, and I know you cheat, but love endures. And that's how the title came about.
Good. Well, tell us a little more about the CDs and where to contact you.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a website, katherinekemler.com, or just kkemler.com. My husband seemed to think katherinekemler.com was too long, so he made me change it. I just had my website updated. I have 4 commercial CDs, and they are now available on iTunes for download. And and of course on my website, you can also get the CDs on my website, and also on my website, which is kind of unusual. I offer downloads of live performances that are not CDs, but just live performances of various pieces that might not be recorded so much, or just pieces that I happen to love, and they're on there too. So
terrific. Well, it's been wonderful chatting with you.
Talk to you too, and to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. I'm here with Katherine Kemler, katherinekemler.com. And my name is Viviana Guzman, reporting from the National Flute Association 2011. Bye.